Hello, welcome back to I nearly said the wrong name then. Welcome back to Heavy Subjects Podcast. I'm Ruben. That's Reagan. So today we're going to continue our discussion of all things death metal, and we're going to take a look at we're going to take a look at some modern death metal. Don't worry, we're not talking about deathcore just yet. I'm sure we'll talk really in depth about that in the future.
Yeah.
Today we're going to take a look at some of the, I guess, like old school death metal revival sort of bands. But the thing I find with these bands that we're going to talk about today is, unlike the thrash metal sort of new wave slash revival movement, it's less bands trying to sort of emulate the sound of old school like bands that have come before, and more
Yeah.
just what if these bands existed today and we're rooted in this old school death metal sound, but we're looking forward, and there's some sometimes very kind of experimental, almost avant-garde elements in these, but in this music made by these bands.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way of putting it. It's basically we're going to look at the death metal that still got elements of the old school within it, and there's so much modern incantations of black metal, like let's say the death metal, like deathcore or other types of metal like that. Like I feel like melodic death or something. We're just looking at pure death metal, but done in a modern time. That makes sense.
Yeah, basically.
Or at least pure death metal with a modern twist.
Yeah, and some of
Maybe
it
might be
is like,
better.
yeah, some of it's like, if you like your older bands like Deicide and Obituary, and who are the other ones I was going to mention? Morbid Angel. Some of these bands are like, yeah, cool, I like that. Some of it is really out there, and it's like, what the fuck am I listening to?
I would like to mention one band that was out there that I actually put on the black metal list, but I want to mention it because I feel like they're actually more death metal.
Okay,
So I might mention them, but I'll get to them.
okay, cool. So
Yeah, go on, Rubes.
where do you want to start then, Reagan? Because I've got them here in a sort of
Yeah.
order, but we can do whatever band you feel like talking about. We can just do that.
I haven't put to it. I would like to either probably start a Venom Prison or Blood Incantation.
Okay, let's do Venom Prison then.
Yeah, okay. Animus wasn't it the album that I listened to? I don't know
Yeah,
if this. I think I did hear a few other songs of theirs just to see how what it was like, but that was the one I focused on.
sure.
Um, so I have to put my own opinion on this now. So I did like the vocals. I kind of like that shrieking death metal growl that's like present
Mm.
in some modern death metal now, especially with female vocalists. Um, that sort of tortured ghost sound. But then I thought some other bands like Dragon of Sunlight did that same idea. I kind of like that sound. Not just I do like the low death growls as well. Don't something about like the tortured shrieks. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, I did like some of the songs, but if you want my honest opinion, I find I struggled to keep my attention at times in the album. Just
Hmm.
sometimes I was just like I was wandering off, trying to not get bored of listening, and then occasionally there'll be a moment where like, oh, that's cool, and it's good. Like I can listen to one or two songs, I think that's good, but then it's like it just felt like parts were just really generic, and I was just like, I need something more to push me in to really like the album. However, it is not a bad album. Don't take it that way. It's just it's heavy. It's death metal. It works, but it's just this better in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I personally really like Venom Prison. Um, I think I saw them. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I watched some of them at my first Bloodstock, but because I've been to a few now, it starts to blur and I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I watched at least half their set, but I saw a lot of bands that weekend, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's fair.
I definitely go and see them again. I do really like Animus as an album. I think it's 33 minutes, so it's not too long. It's not too
True.
short either. It's I really like just how aggressive it is, and it sounds like, especially if you know what some of the songs are about, it sounds like the vocalist like she's just really pissed off.
Yeah, I
Um,
did. I did particularly like the vocals. I feel like that's what really stood out more than anything else.
yeah, and it doesn't really kind of waver much between styles. It's pretty much really heavy the entire time.
Mm,
Um, but I find that none of the songs are too long, and the energy kept my attention going for just a little over half an hour. Um,
see.
and I listened to their newest album, Erebos, yesterday as well, which is a bit
Oh,
more. It's longer, but there's a bit more to it. There's some clean vocals on there. There's some like synth parts as well. The one thing I'll say about that album cover and the Animus one is the artwork is absolutely amazing. It's terrifying to look at,
mm,
but it's so good. And I
yeah.
forget the artist name now, but
I can
yeah,
look it up
they've
if you want.
done loads of stuff. Yeah, they're really really good. That artist.
I did particularly like the artwork. It's kind of got like a very dark Renaissance feel to it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Artwork. Just see if I can find Elvian Cantor. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Elivan? 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 I don't know.
yeah,
If I'm
yeah,
pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I did. I did forget to mention the artwork, and it was actually really good. It's like definitely up there with like death metal works. Like maybe not quite as iconic as something like Cause of Death, but still just as well
Mm.
drawn and conceptually, it's really cool.
There's a reason that when you type into the internet like modern death metal band, one of that artist's album covers are like the first thing that pops up.
Yeah, definitely. Some certain artists just do really well.
Yeah,
Um, but anyway, I don't really feel like I can add more to that conversation towards Venom Prison. But
yeah.
don't take it as criticism. I'm just for that part's a little generic, but overall there were some good songs.
I think for me, because you've got a woman on vocals, in a band that isn't. I mean, I like bands like Spirit Box and I say Ginger, even though they're nothing alike, but they're kind of lumped into that like
Mm,
that I hate this term, but female fronted. You know what I mean? Even though they sound nothing alike. But I think Venom Prison are
yeah.
cool because they aren't sort of. I don't know. It's almost like their label doesn't use the fact that they've got a woman on vocals as their USP. It's just, oh, she happens to
Yeah.
be a woman, but it doesn't matter. They're a good band, and that of course
Mm,
is the case with bands like Spirit Box and Ginger. But I always get annoyed when fans of those bands are like, "Oh, it's cool because a girl does the screaming," and I'm like, "Yeah, but is that really a compliment? That's such a backhanded compliment, though."
no, yeah, I agree. It's like anyone can really scream it. I mean, granted, death metal used to be a sausage fest majorly in the early days. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like some women really pushed the idea because obviously there was a time where there was a backlash towards death metal and metal in general because obviously Satanic Panic and it was harder to be accepted in the early days. So if you had some parents who were, especially if they were quite religious, but not necessarily religious, just in general, might be a bit like reluctant to let the daughter do death metal, which sounds gruesome and too masculine. So I imagine there
Yeah.
was definitely some fighting in the early days for women to actually do it socially,
But
depending on the background, obviously. But it feel like nowadays it is more just generally accepted and more so. However, at the same time, there is this category of it, like when you have female-fronted bands or female-based bands in general, they have to like rely on the fact that they're female to sell, which is kind of
yeah,
weird.
it's
And I feel like I can understand to a degree certain aspects. I understand that a female's voice has a different aesthetic to a male's voice, like because male and female voices generally sound different. So I get the aesthetical part to a degree, but at the same time, if it's screaming, I don't really see much of a difference between male and female. It only really makes a difference when it's clean vocals, because
Mm.
there's this general distinguishing. You could roughly argue that there's more screechiness to a female growl, but I've heard some women do death growls and they sound just like a man would do it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
therefore it's like, if it is sounding exactly the same, why does it make a difference that she's a woman? They're just this. That's what
yeah,
kind of they like about Venom Prison and what our band Crypto, which we'll get to later. They don't rely on the fact, like you can listen to it and you don't have to rely on the fact of the female aesthetic to really enjoy it.
yeah. I mean, there's some amazing harsh vocalists out there who I don't even. They happen to be women, but
Yeah.
with someone who is some of my favorite modern harsh vocalists, I go, oh, her. Their band are really cool, and they're like, oh, what, is she a girl? It's like, well, yeah, I suppose she is, but that's besides the point. Like, there's a new band out right now called Miserion, and their vocalist slash guitarist Claire Lamb is fucking incredible. Like, she can give Glenn Benton a run for his money back in the day.
Yeah, of course.
And Bristol bands, like you have Moon Reaper with Shirin on vocals, and she sounds like a fucking demon when she's on stage.
Awesome. Yeah, it's difficult screaming. It's a difficult technique, and I think it's just as difficult for either gender. I feel like this being a female doesn't necessarily make it harder to scream. I think because there's men out there who can't do it at all. Right? It's just that it sounds. I think it's a sound masculine to people anyway. That the idea that a female can do it might be weird, but you're just looking at death growls from a masculine context. But really, the technique required to do it doesn't really matter, what your gender is. Does that make sense? It's just like like I said, when it comes to screaming, I don't really get the difference because there's so men out there when they scream that they can sound relatively female, especially if they have that shrieky type of black metal voice or just shriek in general in the death growls. So, and women who do like low death growls can just sound exactly the same as what men do it. So I'm just like, does it make a difference? Not really. Unless it's like the clean vocals, I would understand a little bit more because clean vocals, there's a clear distinction in the aesthetic between the two. Especially when you have both together, I think it can make a nice contrast. So I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize that. Like, also, you don't really need to rely on the fact that you're women to sell the band. I feel like it's not to sound mean, but it's not really a new thing anymore. Like, women can play metal music. I mean, I don't know why that's shocking. Women can play guitar as well. Women can play drums as well. Women can do screaming vocals as well as what men can do. It's not like it's a gender specific thing. It's just that as a genre, it tends to have more men attracted to it. On average, that's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, another really important thing about Venom Prison, other than the fact they really are pushing forward Welsh metal. Wales isn't necessarily known for their metal bands, but Venom Prison are going, no, we do exist. Like, if you live out in the sticks in proper countryside Wales, it's a bit of a rough place to grow up. So, But the other thing I want to talk about
can be.
With Venom Prison is because it's from a woman's perspective. I believe she writes the lyrics as well as the vocals, right? You have a song like Perpetrator Emasculation, which is about castrating a rapist. And people might go, that's a bit shocking, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, but what about Cannibal Corpse 30 years earlier with a song like Fucked with a Knife, which is about male on female rape? Is that any less shocking?
No. I mean,
back in the day, like a lot of really extreme death metal, it's violence against women. Even though it's just fantasy, it's not, I'm not saying that George Fisher is an actual murderer. He's a really nice guy from what I've seen. But sometimes older death metal does fall into the trappings of just, it's a bit misogynistic. It's a little bit like Boyzone Adventure sort of thing, or like a Penny Dreadful sort of book, you know. But I like the fact
I
that
agree.
they flip it.
I do like the fact that death metal as a genre, not say it's the only genre, but because death metal is a genre where you don't really have any filters, you can say how you feel 100% without any drawbacks.
Yeah.
It's not like it's pop, right? But what I feel like that does for some women is to express extreme things that normally you couldn't express in other music. So a woman can talk about, rape and what it's like to be raped very much without the filter there. But I feel like at the same time, it gives them a voice to express it and for people to listen to it. And I think that's really good. It's good for anyone who can express themselves. Like, if you are yourself, even if you're like a male and you've been through sexual abuse, it's still the fact that you can talk about it more.
Yeah.
Or so forth. And the fact that you can talk about like the depths of humanity, or the darkest depths of humanity, and how bleak it can actually be, and so crushing and destroying humanity can get, that sometimes these types of music allows people to give other listeners reality checks a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of good. So I definitely think it's a good platform for women to have a voice, for sure. If you want my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If we're on the topic of women, I think we should move possibly onto Crypta. Yeah.
Okay,
Crypta.
sure.
Makes sense because we were talking about them, and I've already mentioned them when I was talking about the Venom prison, so it makes sense. Yeah. They're really fucking good. Let's just be
Brazil
honest with
just
ourselves.
has a pedigree as a country of just great metal bands.
That's true, actually.
I suppose
they have some really good bands. Jesus.
I suppose that they're always like to big bands that come to Brazil and they don't, so they're just like, fuck it, we'll make our own band. When I went to see Paul Di'Anno, former vocalist of Iron Maiden, in Western Supermare of all places, his backing band and all the support bands were all Brazilian, and they were all amazing. They were all completely different
very
genres.
Good.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Yeah, I think Brazil. I think Brazil's some of the bands. I wouldn't even say just Brazil. I would say like South America as a continent has some really underrated bands, like all the way from Mexico down to Argentina. So Brazil being one of them, obviously the first one that comes to mind is bands like Sepultura, but definitely deserves some love because they got some really good metals going on there that's underground, and we can get into that. There were some really good Mexican bands, especially. So, well, I'll focus more on Crypta anyway. So, yeah. So hailing from Brazil, they're just fantastic. The thing that obviously pushes out more than anything else is the drums. Let's be honest here. Was it? I don't know if it's how you pronounce it. Is it Luana D'Amato? I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not very good at Portuguese, or whatever. But Luana D'Amato, she's a fantastic drummer. And I think when they were advertising themselves, this is an interesting thing about we're going into modern death metal, was how they advertise themselves on social media and how they got big. Was really clever. Like, they took a modern approach to get famous, almost, if you get my drift. So I don't know the exact ins and outs of what they did, but they uploaded members, I think, playing through the songs consecutively in uploads on their social medias, and the drummer specifically got a lot of views because of how good and tight he is. So like, I feel like it was this sort of nostalgic for ODM going on, but there's something new about it. Like, when I was listening to it, it's like it feels like old death metal but new, and I can't really understand how they did that. Like, not being funny to the other modern ones who are doing DM, but like when I've listened to Frozen Soul, for example, I thought they were really good, but it didn't feel necessarily new. It just was good. It was just old music played really well, which is still good. But something about Crypto, it's actually made it modern without it losing the nostalgia, and they just captured that perfectly well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they've only done 2 albums so far. The first album, to put it very, very briefly, I went, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. The second album,
yeah.
So sorry, the first album is called Echoes of the Soul. The biggest track from that is probably From the Ashes. And then you have Shades of Sorrow, which came out last year, which is my favorite of the two. And that's where I've gone, okay, this is like a little bit more interesting. It's more or less more of the same, but it's that much better. And I'm really excited to see if they do a third next year. I'm seeing Crypto this year at Bloodstock. I'm seeing them next month, actually. Nice. That's really exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited to see them.
I did have an opportunity to see them when they came down to where I am. So they come down recently, but I had something. I'm not going to go into detail, but I had something happening personal life-wise that stopped me from going.
Yeah.
So though that's sad, I'm hoping they do come down again. We'll never know.
I'm sure they will. I mean, the UK seems to love them. Well, all countries seem to love them, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I would like to say one thing about Shadows of Sorrow, and fucking one of the best drum productions I've ever heard. The drums sound fantastic, not just because of how they played. They played amazing, yes, but the production, it sounds fantastic. Almost gives me slight Carcass's Heartwork feels in the drums, but just better in production, because obviously that's from to be fair, from 1993 they were really good production drums from Death Metal, don't get me wrong. So like Carcass's drummer was great, but like something that it's got that sort of very industrial sound, but it's just pure heaviness with it, and it's fantastic. Yeah. I also wanted to point out, right? I don't know about you, but when I was listening to both albums, I don't know if this is purposeful. I just noticed, well, as a personal opinion. So you got the 2 intros to the album. I got them written down actually.
Yeah.
You got Awakening, and then in the Echoes of Soul, and then you got the Aftermath, which is Shadows of Sorrow. So when I was listening to the Awakening intro, like the intro to the album, it gave me major horror feels, which is cool. However, it majorly gave me Silent Hill vibes. Like I was thinking that Akira Yamamoto, the one who does the motion for Silent Hill, it gave me that heavy amounts of vibes. They've influenced by him a little bit with that sort of horror feel. I don't know if that was intentional. Like it just could have just ended up sounding that way. Just as as they just thought of ideas, but I don't know, something about it gave me Silent Hill vibes. However, when I listened to the intro to Shadows of Sorrow, the Aftermath, I got Resident Evil vibes. Ironically, being the counterpoint to Silent Hill, because they're like the 2 horror genres and video games. Because when I was listening to the intro to the Aftermath, the intro to the album, I was thinking of that safe room music that you get in Resident Evil, almost.
Okay.
Until it got a bit more speedier, and then eventually it got a bit heavier, and it started sounding a bit more like horror classical, and then it hit you with like full on like punch in the face with Dark Clouds. I think it was the second one. But I just wanted to point that out. I felt like one gave me each of the game vibes at the very start. I don't know if it was intentional, but I liked it for that reason. I'm a big fan of those games.
Yeah.
So there you go. But definitely some really good songs on each album. I feel like I like the Shadows of Sorrow more though.
Yeah, that was my preferred one out of the 2.
Oh yeah, awesome. Again, I know we can mention the fact that they're female, but like I don't really feel like it's necessary. Like they're just good regardless of gender. Like if they were male, they would be just as good.
Yeah.
you know, like whether you regard as higher or lower for the gender, I just don't really see the gender in it. I feel like the music sounds amazing regardless.
It's
Right.
just straight up death metal. Like,
Yeah.
it's all you need.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's cool that, as women they are really pushing death metal. It's good to see, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's not really worth mentioning too much. Um, just at the same time, it's just great to see a Brazilian band get really known. So I feel like it's neglected, especially maybe for female point of view from being from Brazil. It might help. It might be nice to
Mm,
see that as well. But
yeah.
again, I feel like if there were men doing if it was the same album in the exact same way, written the same way, it was performed by men, it wouldn't make a difference.
No, not at all. Oh, excuse me. Oh,
Yeah, again,
I
a bit
know.
tired, are we?
Nah, not at
I'll
all.
let you choose the next. I'll let you choose the next band. Go on.
Well, since you mentioned them, should we do Frozen Soul?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do Frozen. So I don't. I'll be honest with you, Ruben. I didn't listen to the whole albums of Frozen Soul. I only listened to a few songs because I just didn't get around to listening to the whole album.
Okay.
So I apologize to any Frozen Soul fans out there. However, I did hear a few of the songs just in general, and I did like them. They're really good.
So I've heard every album by Frozen Soul, both of them. Crypt of
Oh wow.
Crypt of Ice and Glacial Domination, and like
Two
Frozen
really
Soul,
good songs, actually.
yeah,
Just to
yeah,
point out.
yeah. I also really like Arsenal of War as well from
Mm.
Glacial Domination. I can't remember which tracks, but Matt Heafy from Trivium plays on a few songs on
I know
Glacial
you
Domination
placed in
as well.
I know you placed on the song Glacier Domination. He does the solo,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
They're one of my favourite modern bands at the moment. I saw them last year at Bloodstock, and they are just fucking amazing live. You can tell that they are all really into like older death metal, like Obituary, especially, like Morbid Angel as well. Um, but they're doing it with the benefit of like modern kind of production and technology. I know it's almost slam or hardcore in places, but it doesn't quite go that far.
Yeah.
Both the albums aren't too different from each other, really. I prefer Glacial Domination because I like a lot of the kind of synthy interludes and stuff. It really sounds like the soundtracks for like Nightmare on Elm Street or like The Thing or something.
Yeah.
They
That's
have a
cool.
theme, don't they? They have a theme about like ice and being cold, and the fact they
Yeah,
have cover
I
trapped
like
under
that.
ice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. It's like though the music is basically just old school death. There's nothing particularly new about it,
Mm,
but it's done really well, and I like the sort of theme it goes with. Like it's the fact that they got a theme makes it kind of have an aesthetic almost.
yeah,
You can tell how the production when you listen to it, it sounds cold. It reminds me a bit, like Ride the Lightning.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously a bit more better production than Ride the Lightning, of course. But like when you listen to Ride the Lightning, for some reason, like that album sounds cold, right, which we mentioned in
Yeah,
the previous videos. So and I really like the production for that reason. It makes you feel it. But with the stuff with Glacial Domination, I felt kind of similar. Like the production, though it's higher quality, it still had that cold feel listening to it. Well, that was cool. So I feel like there's more effort put into the aesthetic of the band and the vibe it goes with, but the music itself is just basically death metal. Like when I listened to Glacial Domination, I was like, this sounds like a Bolt Thrower song, which is
yeah.
fine. It's Bolt Thrower is great. There's nothing wrong with that, and they did it well. So
And the
don't see that as a
artwork.
criticism.
Yeah, totally. Like the artwork really helps with that theme as well. I like
Mm,
I of the two, Glacial Domination has my favorite artwork as well as it being my favorite album that they've done, even though they've only done two so far. But I just like the look of like that icy fortress thing on the front. It just looks so cool.
yeah,
So
definitely.
like domineering and intimidating.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was great. I'm sorry I couldn't give you any more. I only heard a few. Basically the singles, you could say.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
maybe I'm a I'm a poser, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'd recommend if you get the chance going to see them. They're great live.
Oh, there you go.
They've got just a great band.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine they'd be quite decent live for sure. I'm supposed we go to the next band. I mean, do you want to choose another one? I'm happy.
Well, I'm thinking because this is another band that I've gotten to see, and in my head I'm thinking if we talk about the bands in this order, they kind of get weirder and weirder, and then the last one is going to be like, this is really out there, this music. So the next one I want to talk about is Gatecreeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that. I see. Yeah.
So
You want me to? Yeah, go on. Maybe you do it.
because the two releases I said we should listen to are very different, I think we should talk about one at a time. So, did you listen to An Unexpected Reality?
Yeah, I only heard the one album of theirs all the way through, which was Unexpected Reality.
Okay. Well, album is 17 minutes long.
Yeah, I suppose the best way to put it is EP. If you get my
I've
drift.
heard that technically it's an EP. Spotify lists it as an album, and I'm like,
Well,
it,
to be honest, that's up to Spotify to,
yeah,
that's
sure.
up to them.
It's
I think
kind of-
apparently you don't really have a say in the streaming service on what you label it as. They say
Yeah.
what they think it is, so it's like you take it as you will.
yeah, it's a bit
Bit
shit.
too short. Bit short for an album, really.
Because Spotify are known for treating their artists so well. An Unexpected Reality by Gatecreeper. Would it be fair to call this grindcore? Or at least the first side?
I say it's grindcore mixed with death metal. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. Most of the songs on the first side are like a minute or something. Some of them are like 45 seconds long.
Yeah, I feel like it's just death metal played very quick. That's all it is.
Sure. But then the last song is like 11 minutes and it's epic.
Yeah, that was the part that surprised me. Was this like long, epic song, and then like at the very end, and everything else is just really short and quick.
Yeah.
It's a bit out there. I admire it, honestly. I think
really
it's a fantastic. No, I think I was just like I said, it's fantastic. Great energy. Energy's fantastic.
The fact that it's only 17 minutes as well just makes it better because you can put it on. It just blows your ears off. But it's only 17 minutes, so it's over really quickly.
Yes, exactly. It's a good just little quick headbang if you fancy it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, have you heard any of their other stuff then, or just that album?
Just that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I only listened to that one.
So their newest album, which came out this year, called Dark Superstition, is jumping ahead, but it's basically just full on Melodeath. Which, when I put it on, literally the first second, the first song made me go, "Oh, this is different." And a few songs in, I was just like, "This is one of the best albums I've heard this year." Because it still has that aggression and the harsh vocals that Gatecreeper are known for, but these really melodic song structures and like riffs, and it really sounds like Heartwork era Carcass, something like that. It's really, really good. Definitely recommend it.
Fuck yeah, I'm listening to that then.
Yeah.
You've convinced me. You
Great,
convinced me, Ruben. Well done.
Fantastic album. One of the best albums this year, easily. Like I said, I've seen Gatecreeper live as well. They are something else live. The whole time the singer's just running around screaming. It's fantastic. It's so good live.
Sounds like a good band to see. Obviously, I haven't seen them live, but if they ever come in the area and I can go, I will definitely do so. I don't, like I said, I don't have much else to say. I will point out I did like the artwork for Unexpected Reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a recommendation. I do re-listen. It's one of those re-listenable bands, I would say. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so we're going to get a little bit weirder now, just a little bit before we go into like what I think is the most experimental band on this list. Should we talk about Blood Incantation?
Well, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. This is pretty experimentation going on already. Yeah.
It's pretty
Uh,
weird already, yeah. But there's one other
I would.
album which is even more like, what the fuck?
Oh no, we will get to that. But be honest with ourselves, we're already on the tipping point of weird.
So,
It's what I mean. Who wants to give their opinion first?
so Hidden History of the Human Race, the album by Blood Incantation from 2019.
Yeah.
There are 4 songs. It's 36 minutes long. What genre is it, would you say? I guess like space death metal. It's just, I mean, I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. They're fucking good, this band. Really, really love this album.
Yeah. I say I would label it progressive psychedelic death.
Mm.
I mean, if you want me to give it a label, anyway.
Which is very apt because, fun fact, the third track, the instrumental one, Inner Paths to Outer Space, great name. Apparently, the band recorded the whole thing on psychedelics. So, just improvised. They took, like, it was either mushrooms or LSD or something, or both, I don't know. And then they just recorded for like 6 minutes and then went, there you go, that's it. That's the song.
We like to say that on the production side of heavy subjects, we do not condone the use of drugs while recording.
Only the hard ones.
Only the hard ones.
Yeah, they're good for you. It's fine.
However, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. No, I mean, what did you think about the album then? Hidden History of the Human Race.
It definitely ascended somewhere afterwards. I'll tell you that. I felt like a Terence McKenna fucking podcast, but it's a very fascinating album.
Yeah.
And my God, I cannot imagine listening to this on shrooms.
I think, yeah.
You would ascend beyond material reality at that point. But I mean, let's be honest, like, jokes aside, it's definitely a 70s layout, prog, traditional thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, like they were doing that thing which is like 3 tracks on side A and then 1 on track in side B. I feel like that's what they were going for.
Yeah,
know?
Definitely. Because the last song is like, well, the last song. Right, let me read out the whole name. No, don't play that.
Go on.
Right. Oh my God, Spotify can't even display it. I've got to get it online. But it's quite a long one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't take the time to remember the name.
Hidden.
I looked at it, I know. Oh, go on.
Album name. Okay, here we go. The last track. Awakening from the dream of existence to the multidimensional nature of our reality, Mirror of the Soul, which is 18 minutes long.
It's literally like half the album.
It takes almost as long to play it as it does to say the name. They could have
drum beat like dun dun.
They could have released that track alone as like an EP, and it would still make people go like, "Fucking hell, this is the future of death metal."
I mean, yeah.
My personal favorite.
Go on.
My personal favorite is probably the Giza Power Plant.
Yeah,
which is the second
wasn't
song.
It?
Yeah.
Is that meant to be like the pyramid of Giza, or is it like a Cockney Giza?
The Giza Power Plant.
Giza. It's just Danny Dyer and the track. Talking about my mum again. I'll fucking slap you.
No, it is spelled Giza, so it is to do with. It's probably something like pyramids, because you know the pyramids are built.
Yeah,
that's just a fact.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
although oddly,
not like the ancestors were like smart or anything. They're really dumb. I had to be aliens.
I read this interview with Carl Sanders from Nile, who someone asked him, what do you believe in, any religions or anything? And he said, well, you know how like people think the pyramids are built by aliens? And the interviewer went, yeah. And he said, I think we're the aliens and this isn't our original planet. And he like genuinely believes we've descended from like lizard aliens or something. I'm just like, dude.
Isn't that the premise of Scientology? Just gonna point that out there.
I was just like, what the fuck are you on about?
What does
Like,
it mean to be alien? I don't mean. I'll be honest. No.
his
Do you want me to say it now to everyone who watches Gaia on the streaming services?
oh god.
Aliens did not repeat build the pyramids. The pyramids were built with sophisticated, like mechanisms that were used. However, we have shown that you can carry that stuff with a lot of manpower. I mean, the fact that they had a lot of connections with the ancient Celts, and the Celts had a specific method of carrying heavy rocks, and Neolithic people could do the same. I mean, they did it with fucking Stonehenge. They can do it with other stones. I'm just pointing out, like, you can do it with mechanisms. It's possible. And
Well, I mean, they would have used like JCBs and cranes, wouldn't they?
yeah, definitely.
That's
Get
what they would have had. Yeah.
Schwarzenegger to carry them, you know.
Yeah.
Also, to point out, anyone watching, if you want to be really freaked out, the pyramids of Giza were built when mammoths were still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to blow your mind a little bit more.
Yeah.
But no, I just think we believe that we're better than we were before. We look at our old ancestors or our old like civilizations and we think, oh, we're better now. You're not. There's things they knew back then we don't know now. I mean, it took us until I think the last 5 years to figure out how the Romans made their concrete so well. Because their concrete was built better than ours was throughout the 20th century. It breathed better and it lasted long. But we didn't have no idea how they did it until like a few years ago. So it's like we like to think we're better, but the reality is that they were still really fucking intelligent people back then.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that. I just wanted to point that out. But anyway, moving on.
Do you have anything to add about Blood Incantation? I mean, I'm really excited because they have a new album coming out in, I think, I want to say October. It's it's next month actually. It's August. The new album's coming out, which I'm really, really excited for. I really hope they tour the UK because I really want to see them.
It'll definitely be a ride.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I like the traditional prog thing with the 3-track side A. Track side B, I can see what they were going with there, and that's cool. It's great. I mean, I do love the album. It's a great album. Like you said, it's a kind of a futuristic death metal feel, and definitely they pushed it in realms, but I can understand that some people didn't like it. However, I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
If you want my opinion, I mean, I can't really say more than that. Honestly, no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the album cover is a pretty trippy. The monkey.
Yeah,
is it a monkey?
I know it's like an alien dude, but that cover was actually originally used on a different album, which it's not metal at all. Apparently it's experimental jazz, so not completely far from Blood Incantation, I suppose. But it was also it was actually from a novel originally.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. It's on another death metal band's album as well. It's a cool cover, but finding that out was disappointing. I'm like, okay, it wasn't made for Blood Incantation. They just nicked it basically. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It works for the album.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is a good image. There'll be moments with some albums, especially in other like stuff like black metal, where you see that the album covers are just taken from other pictures but then reused. And sometimes done in a good way though. Like sometimes it might be like they split different images that already exist together into one image. Or it's like is it Non So Vile by Cryptopsy?
Yeah.
Isn't that from something else, isn't it? It's not actually the image. I think it's
like a painting, isn't it?
It's like a painting from like years ago. I think because it's public property, they could use it. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
But it worked for the album, so
it does. It does. That's very true. So, do you want to talk about Cryptic Shift?
Yeah, I mean, I might as well since I'm here. Since we've gone through that.
Um. Okay, so the album is Visitations from Enceladus. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Enchiladas.
Enchiladas, yeah. um, okay, so
Sorry.
I have my thoughts on the album and the band in general. What did you think about it?
I did really like the emphasis on the atmosphere with the, because like I feel like death metal, which is one thing that separates death metal from black metal, if you want to kind of distinguish the two genres. Death metal doesn't really rely on atmosphere very often. Death metal relies on just being heavy. That's kind of its characteristic, which is fine. I'm not saying it doesn't have any atmosphere, but it very much focuses on heaviness. Where other stuff like if you think of black metal, a lot of black metals emphasize not so much on heaviness but atmospheric feels. It feels much more atmospheric, and that's what kind of creates the sound. However, it's kind of nice to hear an album that's very emphasized on the atmosphere, despite the fact that it isn't. It's actually death
Yeah.
without losing the edge. Like it had this emphasis of atmosphere, but without losing the heavy edge that death metal has. Because the thing is, if you focus too much on atmosphere with death metal, it takes away the brutality that it's trying to go for. But I feel like they had a good balance there. I don't know how they did that. Good on them.
Yeah.
And but like it has this chaotic feel of jazz with death metal. Like
Yeah.
like when you listen to like jazz and it's all like over the place, they're all like trying to all play these notes. But it's not really heavy, it's just really fast and chaotic. It's like that but made it heavy.
Yeah, basically. Someone asked me what I would describe Cryptic Shift as, especially that album. And I said it's like progressive psychedelic death jazz.
Yeah, that's a word for it. I feel like it's like one of those things, isn't it? If you label too many words into a genre, it kind of becomes its own genre. Like if you gotta say, "Oh, this is atmospheric, psychedelic, fog, jazz death," like at that
Yeah.
point you might as well give it another name because you don't want to give a whole long list of describing the genre.
I mean, yeah, I see your point. I also think like whatever, but the way I kind of think about subgenres and kind of labeling them, like for example, I don't know, like Meshuggah. I don't really call them gent because they were before gent was really a thing. Um, I would say that they're technical extreme metal. They're not really death metal. And the reason why I would call them technical extreme metal as opposed to extreme technical metal is because the focus is they just make heavy music first and foremost. Believe it or not, they're not that obsessed with technique. They in interviews and that when people say, "How do you come up with these ridiculous time signatures and ideas and that?" and they say, "Well, one, most of our stuff's in four. It's actually not that difficult, and two, we just write the music we want to hear. We just want to be able to headbang." So yeah, like the reason I'd say it's technical extreme metal. It's extreme metal mainly. They just made it more technical, as opposed to if it was extreme technical metal, the focus would be, oh, it's technical metal first. We just added some extreme elements to it. If you do, like, do you see what I mean?
Yeah. You're emphasizing one word over than the other word. It's like it's like if you emphasize death metal over black metal, but you do both, you would say something like black and death metal.
Yeah, if the focus is it's death metal with black metal elements, sort of thing, because it's death metal that's been blackened death metal.
Yeah. However, if you said Black Death, it sounds like you're a black metal band that has elements of death in it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it emphasizes words over than other words. That makes sense. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I can't really add more to this album. I mean, Cryptic Shift was good though. It's definitely a surprise listening to it. I'll give it that.
Yeah. especially the 26-minute long opening song, Moonbelt Immolator.
Oh yeah,
It's a
definitely.
fucking journey, that song. Jesus.
Okay, I only listened to it once. That was a while ago, so I have to probably re-listen to get it back in my head again.
Yeah. There's so much going on, and it's so all over the place.
Yeah.
I actually got to open for Cryptic Shift in my old band
Oh,
years ago. Really nice guys. It was round about when this album came out, actually.
okay.
Yeah, really nice guys. Really fun to watch live.
Oh, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, it's
Okay,
just
something to
cool to
drink.
see that they've kind of gone on to bigger things and just kind of, they're still going. They haven't
Yeah,
done
yeah.
anything for a while, like recordings or anything. I really hope they release some new stuff soon.
So do I actually. I
Mm.
mean, it'd be interesting to see where they take it.
I mean, they arguably have
Go
taken
on
death
then.
metal about as far as it can go in terms of just how unconventional and experimental it can be.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If we want to go to, I would like to mention one band, and I think we'll mention them again in Black because they're a band that kind of blurs the line between all extreme metals,
Mm.
like Black Death. This band mixes death, black, dark, ambient, and experimental music. So it's very weird. They're called Portal, and I did put them in the black metal section, but one of them I kind of mentioned them in death metal because they do have a lot of death metal elements.
Yeah.
And I feel like within death metal they are quite unique. Though they go for the H.P. Lovecraft mythos, kind of like how Nile did, the aesthetic and sound is really weird. One is what they wear on stage. The singer wears the weirdest shit possible.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen this? What he wore?
Yeah,
What he wore on
I've heard of
stage.
Portal. Yeah, I've seen some of the kind of things that they do.
I just want to mention because obviously there's that sort of link with the H.P. Lovecraft and Nile, but I
Yeah,
think we'll
definitely.
mention them a bit more in black metal as well. Kind of want to point out there for any death metal listeners who want something a bit out there, modern in their death metal.
Yeah.
Apart from that, though, I don't think there's much more else to add unless you want to mention any other bands in the meantime.
No, I just want to say, like, some of these bands are some of my favorite death metal bands. They've produced some of my favorite death metal albums, and it's just really cool to see that death metal isn't going anywhere, and there's still people who are trying to push it further and further. And
Yeah, definitely.
you know, there's always something darker to explore.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's always someone out there. There's always something out there, someone or some people out there who just think outside the box and just do something, and you're like, I wasn't expecting that, but it works.
Yeah.
Straight up.
So I think that's gonna do it really for modern, I guess, modern death metal. So what's the next thing we're going to talk about, Reagan? Because I've already forgotten, even though we discussed it the other day multiple times. But for the viewers at home,
well, yeah, I was trying to remember myself. So we want to discuss about the band Death. I know
yeah,
that. I felt like that would be a good transition, but we also want to talk about our favorite death metal albums and albums or possible death metal bands that are easy or for people to access into the genre. So basically, either talk about like kind of a mixture of your favorites and bands that are kind of for noobs at the same time. I
well,
feel like those are going to be our next two.
yeah, I would really like to talk about Death because I feel like some of the Death albums will be on. Like if I put together a list of like essential death metal albums or death metal albums to get you into death metal, Death would be on there. But there's no
Yeah.
question. There's at least
Oh,
one
yeah.
or two Death albums. So I think I would like to discuss Death the band next. So I've been really excited to do that for some time.
I'm happy to do that. I will like to listen to Death again and analyze it a little bit more. I felt like when I was listening to Death, one of the things I was doing was I was really going into depth about the band, like why they're great and what their history and
Yeah.
I felt like when I was talking about them in the first part, though I did go into depth, simultaneously I felt like I could talk about more, but I had to keep it on a lid, if that makes sense, because I needed to make room
Yeah.
for everyone else. So it kind of like what we did with Metallica. We or other bands like Evil, we were talking about it's just nice to go into big major depths about the band.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Death, they're fairly well known, but they're also like nowhere near as well known as bands like Metallica or Iron Maiden, or even, to be honest, I think if you ask the average person on the street who are Cannibal Corpse, chances are they've heard of them. If you said, "Have you heard of a band called Death?" they'd probably go, "Not really, no."
Yeah, I think bands like Cannibal Corpse, especially, were just at the time more shocking, and people knew them more
Yeah,
as a result. I
yeah,
think they pushed through, but yeah, like you said, someone like Death, though, you would say, or arguably, I would say that they're really well known within the metal community and death metal as general. So like anyone into death metal will know Death. No two
yeah,
ways about it.
yeah.
And it'll be like one of the first bands you will see when like attempting to listen to death metal. Probably one of the first bands you'll come across for sure.
Yeah.
However, I would like to ask a good question before we leave this video,
Okay.
if it's all right, Ruben.
Yeah, of course.
I want to know what album got you into death metal.
Ooh. So it probably doesn't really count. The first really like extreme stuff I listened to was like Slipknot, but I wouldn't call Slipknot death metal. I
Of
think
course, no. It has to be an actual death metal record in some way.
some Slayer is close to death metal. Like, well, I remember thinking Raining Blood was the heaviest song ever. But the first death metal album I listened to was Magma by Gojira, and it's not kind of not really death metal. The first, well, the one after that was The Sound of Perseverance by Death, and even then, that's not really the true death metal sound anymore. It's a little bit more on the progressive death metal side.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be pedantic like with being pure death metal. I mean, like anything that has death metal elements. So like something like Slipknot, I wouldn't really say it's a death metal band in any way. So I don't think that really counts. But like, if it's like melodic death or if it's like progressive death, like Opeth, I think that's because it has elements of death to allow you to get into death.
Opeth were an early one for me. Yeah, I mean, it probably was Gojira, to be fair, the first like death metal band I got into.
Wow, interesting. I wasn't expecting Gojira, actually. I think I see them more as a modern band, maybe.
Yeah, it was round about when that album came out, though, and it blew up, and Gojira became like one of the biggest metal bands in the world.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. How old were you then, may I ask? Like when you played?
I was in uni, so I was 20,
really?
21, 20 when that
So,
album came out.
had you heard death metal before this?
I tried listening to Deicide years ago and just went, no, it's too heavy, and turned it off.
Oh, fair. So you had heard it, but it was the first album that you liked that was death metal.
Yeah.
I see. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I was just curious.
What about you then? What was the kind of the moment you went, oh, I like death metal now?
I was my first ever death metal album that I listened to, and it got me into death. And I was 13. Right, is Nightmares Made Flesh by Bloodbath.
Nice.
I listened to specifically. It was actually the song Eaten. I discovered the song Eaten, which we all know. It's a bopper. It's a bopper.
One of my favorite sing-along songs for family events. That.
Yeah, I mean it's a great sing-along, like around the campfire with the children. But I still know the lyrics to all that
Yeah.
to the entire song, like "Suck My Guts and Lick My Heart," and my mum always thought he sounded like he said "Suck my guts and lick my arse," but that's a different song. So shout out to my mum on that one. But no, it was this. Yeah, I heard this and I was like, I want more. That was just like my first reaction. I was like, this is. It's like
Yeah.
I was listening to other things like before that when I was like 12. You know, I found Slipknot and I found Bullet for Your Valentine, like Trivia, and then I got into like more extreme, slightly more extreme things, like like more like Evil and new wave of thrashy stuff that suddenly like popped up out of nowhere, and I heard things like and I was like, oh, this is awesome, right? Then when I was 14, I just found Nightmare Made Flesh, and then I was like, this is it. This is how heavy it needs to be, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I was looking for heavier, but I didn't know where to go. And then suddenly I found, shit, this is where I need to go. And then eventually I got into other death metal bands. One of the ones, I think the one after this was Deicide. Again, it's
Right.
quite a common metal band to get into. Excuse me. And I think I was 14 again, but it was just a little bit after I found Bloodbath. And I think my friend gave me a greatest hits of Deicide, the original greatest hits that they made, the first one.
Greatest hits, yeah.
I don't know if that's what you would call it. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know what year it was. Let me just actually have a look. I won't go too much in depth. Just if I go to the Deicide and then I'll go to compilation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 2003 The Best of Deicide one. That was it.
Nice.
It's not the greatest hits, but it's like like.
Greatest.
No, that's what I
Greatest hit.
call Satan.
Oh, death metal. Oh my god.
But yeah, this is like that was sort of my. It was interesting. So I got into Bloodbath, then I found Deicide not long after because my friend gave me the CD. I never actually had a Bloodbath CD. I just found Bloodbath while on YouTube, and I found the song Eden, and then I kept listening to it, and then because I got into it, my friend gave me a Deicide CD, and then I got into Deicide, so that was fun.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird introduction because for many years I didn't actually hear a proper Deicide album. I didn't listen to like Legion or the Self-Titled or whatever all the way through. Those are great albums, nothing wrong with them. Just I had this most of my time listening to them was just the best of, which just had all the best of songs. There was 20 songs on it. So like, and it had like really, all the good. You had some really good ones. The first one was Dead by Dawn, for example.
Sure, yeah.
But you also had like Lunatic and Crucifixion, or you know what I mean, Once Upon the Cross, all that was on there.
It's my favorite.
That was cool. Oh yeah, but there you go. Great song. So yeah, that was, and then it kind of just spared off and actually I will point out that Deicide was the first ever death metal band I saw live as well when I was 15.
Nice. I will be seeing them at Bloodstock next month. And I'm very, very excited to finally see Deicide live. And it's going to be a right laugh.
I don't know if did they still have the same drummer from when I last saw them? So I saw them in 2011.
I don't know who's in the band now, apart from Glenn.
Yeah. All I know is when I saw them in 2011, I was quite amazed by the drummer specifically. Like they were all really good as musicians, but the drummer was just really tight and heavy. Like it was good shit, you know what I mean? So that's all I had to say on that. Someone I know, actually, I didn't get to see Glenn Benton. I saw him walk off in the distance. I was like, oh, that's Glenn. But I didn't try and talk to him because I thought he probably wouldn't want to talk to me because it's Glenn. But someone else I knew was there, and I think it was called Dan. I haven't spoken to him in years because he was at school with me. But he was at the sort of like door to White Rabbit-ish, and Glenn Benton walked out right next to him, and he was like the same age as me, so he was only like 15 as well.
Yeah.
And he went up to Glenn and went, I really liked your set, and Glenn just walked past him and completely ignored
Oh,
him.
God.
Like just completely ignored his assistance, and then he just came up to me like, "I hate him now." He felt like he looked so offended by it, and I was like,
Oh
"I'll
my
be honest,
God.
I'm not surprised." Have you seen Glenn Benton's interviews? I feel like, does he do it to keep up with persona though? Like, I feel like,
I don't know. I mean, I think there is a certain ego there as well because he's a death metal legend, but he knows he is. But he's kind of
yeah, I
like, I
agree.
don't know, not the same level as like Chris Barnes there. Jesus.
Did I get sorry?
Like, not to the same level as like Chris Barnes.
Oh, who's that again?
He was the vocalist on the first few Cannibal Corpse albums, and he also sings in 6 Feet Under.
Oh yeah, I
Who
know.
are
Sorry, I know of the guy. I never learned his name.
oh, he's a dickhead. He's an absolute twat. And Six
Oh
Feet
yeah,
Under,
yeah, I've seen him because he has those
six
weird dreadlocks.
yeah, 6 Feet Under are awful. Like
Yeah.
really, really bad. I haven't heard any of their stuff that made me go, "This is good." It's all been shit.
No, I agree. I remember hearing one of their songs. I was like,
mm,
"This is awful."
have you heard?
Like,
Have you
I
heard that? Yeah, have you heard their cover of TNT by AC/DC?
I mean that I don't even heard it, but I feel like if I do, I probably,
You should
you know,
listen to
like
it.
I feel like it's one of those things that you can't unhear it once you hear it.
It is just really something. You should definitely listen to it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I might have to listen to it to get the experience in.
Yeah.
But not much else to add to that. Obviously, I don't want to go into every band I got into in chronological order, but Nightmares Made Flesh specifically was probably the first album of theirs I heard of death metal in general. So, and Bloodbath as well. It's the first time I heard Bloodbath. So I heard Bloodbath before Opeth, which is quite funny.
Mm, yeah.
But I don't know if that's unique or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? I think probably could leave it there, I suppose, if you're
Yeah,
okay with that.
I feel like we've covered a good amount of stuff. The only thing really I would say is just like these bands we talked about, like, you know, your Cryptic Shift, your Frozen Souls, and all that, Venom Prison.
Yeah.
Go and check them out. Go and listen to some stuff because it's not all like fringes and guttural vocals and breakdowns and 8-string guitars. There is some really great classic death metal out there being made still as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with a lot of modern, like, genteel deathcore stuff
Yeah.
inherently. I think if you get the right band who does it well, it's good. But a lot of bands do it very generically, and you think, "Oh, I've heard this all before, stop." Sometimes.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't feel like deathcore or gentle for that is particularly worse than death metal in any way. I just feel like I just more particular about who plays it, if that makes sense. I find like you need to play it well to play it off, and there's only a few bands that have done that. I feel, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, I suppose I'll leave it at that. Rubes, got anything else to say before we end?
No, other than just thanks for watching, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, by the way, when this comes out, it'll be after my single.
Oh yes, yeah.
Well, I've only just this is the first video I've done since I've announced its release. So, but however, this will probably be a few videos ahead from the release.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, you take care, Roops, and we will see you guys again. Thank you. And everyone who's listening, we will bid Dyer goodbye. And you guys, everyone take care of yourself, all right?